in the last half an hour that the lifeboats from Dover and the Womer lifeboats were heading back at pace with a casualty on board. We're looking at the lifeboats heading into harbour now.
The UK's southern coastline is cracking under pressure, and now nearly 2,000 of Britain's own Border Force officers have had enough. They've gone off script. Quietly, but unmistakably, they've signed a covert letter warning that the government's entire border narrative is a lie. Not just a little fudged, not just spun, deliberately, dangerously false. And what's even more damning, these aren't random whistleblowers or partisan agitators. These are frontline officers, the people watching, with tensions rising across the UK and thousands taking to the streets of London right now. It's more important than ever to see the full picture. If you want to stay updated on the situation as it unfolds, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm covering the angles the mainstream media might miss, like this video if you believe in unfiltered reporting. Firsthand, as boat after boat touches British shores. People who now say the situation has spiraled so far out of control, they can't stay silent any longer. Welcome to a full-blown credibility crisis, one that, if exposed in full, could shatter public trust and unleash a political firestorm. And it's already simmering. Because what we're seeing now isn't just a border overwhelmed by numbers. It's an entire system drowning in its own deception. So what's really happening? According to leaked internal reports, risk assessments, and officer testimonies, migrant crossings in the English Channel have already crossed 14,000, and that's just a start. Dover is over capacity. The long-term safety thresholds already breached, and yet the official reports? Calm, controlled, sanitized. The numbers being shared with the public, and even with some senior officials, are being manipulated, cleaned up, diminished. Entire sections of reports are either softened or deleted outright to make the crisis look manageable. Warnings about overcrowding? Removed. Mentions of operational breakdowns? Rewritten. And the real-time risk assessments, the ones shouting we're in trouble? They are buried. But this isn't about clerical oversight. It's not about someone forgetting to update a spreadsheet. Officers say this is intentional. A political strategy, not a bureaucratic one. And it goes deeper. Staff on the ground are being instructed to avoid telling the full story, to downplay references to migrant surges, to tone down incident logs, to push a rosier version of events. Their job, increasingly, isn't to manage border security, it's to manage public perception. And they've had it, because when nearly 1,900 officers break ranks to collectively accuse their own system of deceit, that's not a workplace dispute. That's a mutiny. A full-scale rebellion against a culture of censorship, suppression, and dishonesty. They are calling it what it is, a deliberate cover-up. And they say it's being done to avoid political embarrassment. I know things feel really heavy in the UK right now. There's a lot of division and noise on the streets. But I want this channel to be a place where we can come together. If you want to be part of a supportive community, please subscribe. And like this video to show some love to everyone feeling anxious about the state of things right now. Stay safe out there, everyone. At the heart of this crisis is a dangerous truth. The UK's border system, especially in Dover, is no longer just strained. It's broken. Facilities are overwhelmed. Officers are exhausted. Zones are being pushed to the brink, teetering on the edge of losing operational control. And yet, none of that is reflected in the public-facing documents. Internal warnings that should have triggered national attention, they never made it past management. Why? Because, according to the officers, alerting the public would shatter the government's carefully maintained illusion of control. Instead, we get the opposite. Reports that look clean, risk ratings that are suspiciously optimistic, and statistics that conveniently skip over the worst of it. And the pressure to stay quiet? That's relentless. Officers say that rather than be honest about the scale of what they are seeing, they are told to maintain the narrative, to avoid triggering headlines, to keep a lid on the truth, even as the situation escalates right in front of them. That truth? Migrant crossings are rising. The border isn't under control, and the government is actively misrepresenting it. Behind closed doors, the conversations have shifted. Whispers, off-the-record chats, quiet acknowledgments between staff that they are being pushed to lie by omission. that their work has become less about safeguarding the border and more about protecting political optics. What we're looking at here is a system running on fiction, one where warnings are ignored, numbers are spun, and honesty is treated as a threat. Officers aren't just burned out, they feel betrayed. They say the dishonesty coming from the top isn't just unethical, it's dangerous. Not just for them, but for national security and for public trust in the entire border system. And now they are pushing back in the only way they can, by signing a warning letter and hoping someone finally listens. Because this isn't just about immigration policy. This is about governance. About whether the people tasked with national security are being silenced to protect a political narrative. We're watching a credibility collapse in real time. And it's not subtle. Internal memos show clear attempt to discourage honest reporting, to omit references to zones that are moments away from total breakdown. When personnel sound the alarm about capacity issues, those warnings get cut from the summaries before anyone upstairs sees them. In some cases, officers say data is fabricated, not just softened, but outright invented to make things look better than they are. That kind of manipulation isn't just disingenuous. It's dangerous. It creates blind spots. You've seen the headlines, but the atmosphere down here is completely different. Subscribe so you don't miss the raw footage I'm releasing later this week, and like this video to help push this unfiltered reporting up the algorithm. It allows real risk to fester unnoticed. It keeps decision-makers operating on fiction while the crisis grows. And most of all, it betrays the people on the ground, the ones working grueling hours in overcrowded conditions, the ones risking their reputations, their careers, and now their anonymity, to tell the public what's really happening. They are not trying to score political points. They are trying to stop a system from collapsing entirely. But the government's response? Radio silence. Business as usual. As if these warnings weren't coming from inside the house. That's what makes this different. It's not just a chaos, it's a cover-up. And it raises a very uncomfortable question. If the government is hiding this, what else is it hiding? This rebellion among officers is about more than numbers. It's about integrity. It's about whether the people enforcing the law are being forced to break it, or at least bend it, by omission. These officers believe the public has a right to the truth, not the polished, edited version, the actual truth, the kind that keeps democracy functioning. Because if national security becomes a PR exercise, where does that leave actual security? And let's be clear, these aren't small exaggerations. We're talking about strategic manipulation of data, systematic suppression of risks, and a culture where honesty is quietly punished. It's a slow, grinding crisis, the kind that doesn't make headlines until it explodes. And this might be that moment, because now the secret's out. Nearly 2,000 Border Force staff are done playing along. They are saying what their supervisors won't, that the UK's border isn't just overwhelmed, it's misrepresented, politicized, and increasingly out of control. This report is a warning shot, not just for the government, but for anyone paying attention. The longer this continues, the more fragile the public's trust becomes. And once that trust is gone, it's almost impossible to rebuild. So now the question is, will this revelation force change? Or will it be buried, like everything else? That's where you come in. If you think the truth matters, if you think we deserve better than manipulated stats and a performative sense of control, hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. This story is still unfolding, and you deserve to know what's really happening before the next cover-up kicks in. Because here's the part they don't want you to hear. This isn't a momentary lapse. It's not a single bad month or an overwhelmed shift that got out of hand. According to the people on the inside, this has been building for years. Quietly, relentlessly. And now, the cracks are too big to ignore. With tensions rising across the UK and thousands taking to the streets of London right now, it's more important than ever to see the full picture. If you want to stay updated on the situation as it unfolds, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm covering the angles the mainstream media might miss, like this video if you believe in unfiltered reporting. Border officers are describing it as a steady, relentless emergency. Not a flashpoint, not a freak surge. This is a new normal, and it's chaos. The kind of chaos that was down even the most hardened professionals. And yet, the reports going up the chain? Clean, glossy, filtered into bullet points that make everything look stable. One officer described it like working in two different realities, the one they live every day and the one they are forced to pretend exists. A polished narrative pushed to ministers, media, and the public, while on the ground, its bodies crammed into holding zones, staff running on fumes, and boats still arriving. But the most chilling part? This isn't just a case of bureaucracy failing to keep up. Officers believe the failure is deliberate, the result of political decisions to suppress panic rather than confront reality. Forget what you've been told about tough immigration policy. The real story is about a government that would rather fake stability than face scrutiny. And the cost? It's mounting. Staff morale is in freefall. Trust in leadership has evaporated. Some officers say they stopped speaking openly in briefings because they know their words will either be edited or ignored. Others report whisper networks forming behind closed doors, quiet confessions of burnout, fear, and frustration. Think about that. Nearly 2,000 people working in national security feel so compromised, so morally cornered, they've gone rogue. Not to attack their job, but to defend it from the very people who are supposed to support them. What they are describing isn't just operational dysfunction, it's a cultural collapse. A workplace where truth is a liability, where honesty might get you sidelined, where the system demands silence, even as it breaks down in real time. They are not just telling us the border is overwhelmed. They are telling us they are not allowed to say it. And Dover? That's the epicenter. Officers say it's already beyond capacity. The facilities that were meant to manage long-term surges, they are overflowing. Safety thresholds, the benchmarks meant to prevent chaos, surpassed. But if you looked at the official summaries, you'd think it's all under control. Because by the time internal alerts reach the people in charge, they've been scrubbed clean. References to overcrowding, gone. Warnings of imminent failure, quietly edited out. It's not just mismanagement, it's strategic denial. And when you take away the spin, the truth is stark. Britain's coastline is not secure. Not because of some dramatic breach, but because the people tasked with I know things feel really heavy in the UK right now. There's a lot of division and noise on the streets, but I want this channel to be a place where we can come together. If you want to be part of a supportive community, please subscribe. And like this video to show some love to everyone feeling anxious about the state of things right now. Stay safe out there, everyone. Defending it are operating under false pretenses. They are trying to manage an emergency while pretending it's not happening. And that's the real danger here. Not the boats, not the crossings, but the lies. Because if the people in charge are basing their decisions on fake data, if they are crafting policy on doctored reports, then what exactly are they managing? The officers say it plainly. The border is no longer under control. And worse, the illusion of control is being actively maintained to avoid political fallout. This isn't about left vs right. It's not about open borders vs closed. It's about whether the truth still matters in national security. When your own border force is describing their role as managing a narrative, not a coastline, you've lost more than operational capacity. You've lost credibility. And once that's gone, what's left? This mutiny, because that's what it is, isn't about rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's about desperation. A final attempt to force transparency before the whole thing caves in. They are not leaking for scandal. They are pleading for help. Because right now, the system is rigged to hide its own failure. Every report, every risk alert is another chance to tell the truth, and every time, that truth is suppressed. Internal memos tell staff to avoid escalating incidents, to soften their language, to not raise alarm unnecessarily. But the officers say alarm is already necessary and has been for some time, and they are done playing along. They've watched the warnings be deleted. They've seen overcrowding turned into manageable density. They've seen risk assessments rewritten until they read like PR statements. And while politicians argue over headlines, the people actually on the water, in the processing centers, in the detention zones, they're the ones stuck carrying the weight of a system that no longer works. That's what's so striking here. This isn't just one department gone rogue. This is almost 2,000 staff saying in unison, this is wrong. We're being lied to, and we're being told to lie, too. It's a collapse of trust from the inside out. And when the people keeping your borders safe no longer trust the people above them, that's not just a management issue. That's a national crisis. The officers say they've been turned into actors in a government performance. Their job isn't just processing migrants anymore. It's maintaining the illusion that the process is working. And if they refuse, if they speak up, the consequences are silent, but swift, being frozen out, being moved around, being watched. So now, you've seen the headlines, but the atmosphere down here is completely different. Subscribe so you don't miss the raw footage I'm releasing later this week, and like this video to help push this unfiltered reporting up the algorithm. They are speaking through leaks, through unsigned letters, through off-the-record testimonies, because it's the only way left to get the truth out. And the truth is damning. The UK border is not under control, not according to the people trying to control it. The reports you've seen, the ones that say it's manageable, stable, under review, those are lies. And the people who know they're lies, they are begging someone to pay attention. So, what happens now? Will this false transparency? Will the government finally confront the reality it's been trying to bury? Or will the cover-up continue, one redacted report at a time? Because here's the thing, if this many officers are saying the same thing, and we still look away, what happens next? What happens when the next wave comes, and there's no trust left, no morale, no operational clarity, just spin? What happens when the people we rely on to tell us the truth stop bothering to try? That's where this is headed, not toward an immigration debate, not toward a new policy paper, but toward a collapse in belief that the government is still telling us the truth about the most basic functions of the state: border control, national security, operational honesty. If we lose faith in those, what's left? This isn't just a scandal. It's a reckoning. And if you've made it this far, you probably feel it too. That creeping dread that the people in charge are so invested in maintaining the illusion, they are willing to let the foundation crack underneath them. The question is, how long before it collapses completely? Because here's what no one in power wants to admit. Once trust breaks at this level, between the state and its own frontline security force, it doesn't quietly repair itself. You don't just patch it up with a reshuffled press release or some carefully worded ministerial statement. This kind of collapse seeps deep. It festers, and eventually it spreads. That's what's happening right now. This isn't just a breach in operational integrity. It's a rot in the chain of command, one that's been quietly tolerated, buried under talking points and massage statistics until it could no longer be hidden. And the officers, they were watching it happen the entire time. They saw the boats increase, week by week, and they saw their warnings get filtered into polite bureaucratic nothingness. They saw detention zones fill past the red line, only for those figures to be adjusted before being passed on to the higher-ups. They heard the speeches about border security while standing ankle-deep in evidence that things were anything but secure. It's not just that they were ignored. It's that they were instructed, explicitly, to pretend everything was fine. And that's what pushed them over the edge. Not just the chaos, with tensions rising across the UK and thousands taking to the streets of London right now. It's more important than ever to see the full picture. If you want to stay updated on the situation as it unfolds, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm covering the angles the mainstream media might miss, like this video if you believe in unfiltered reporting. Not just the impossible workload, but the pressure to lie about it. Because at some point, the job stopped being about protecting the border and started being about protecting someone's political narrative. They were told to leave out the worst parts, told not to flag too many incidents in the daily logs, told to keep it quiet if a zone was approaching operational failure. And why? Because real numbers might cause real panic. And that panic, that would be politically inconvenient. So instead of fixing the problem, the system chose silence. Think about that. Nearly 2,000 trained officers, working one of the UK's most sensitive national security roles, now openly say they're being used to uphold a lie. That's not a rogue claim. That's not a partisan smear. That's a systemic indictment from the inside. And the fallout hasn't even started yet. Because when you undermine your own force, when you push them to suppress what they see, to censor their own reports, to trade integrity for PR, you don't just lose control of the narrative. You lose control of the mission itself. That's what we're seeing in Dover. A mission that's lost its mandate. The port isn't just busy. It's overloaded, beyond design, beyond capacity, beyond safety. Officers say the volume of arrivals has already crossed long-term thresholds that were never meant to be breached. But you won't find that in the reports. Because those reports, they've been rewritten. Risk assessment stripped of urgency. Operational alerts toned down. Entire passages about overcrowding and staff exhaustion deleted. And the result? A glossy illusion of calm, handed to officials who might genuinely believe things are under control. That's the real tragedy. Even people in government, people who might want to act, are being misled by their own internal filters. Because somewhere between the chaos on the ground and the final report in Westminster, the truth is erased. This isn't bureaucracy gone wrong. This is systematic concealment. It's happening in internal communications, in briefing memos, in risk documents that officers say are being cleansed of anything that might trigger alarm bells. What used to be clear warnings are now vague generalities. A manageable capacity becomes under review. Overwhelmed resources turns into temporary pressure. They've weaponized the language of administration to hide a full-blown emergency. And for the officers who live that reality every single day, it's betrayal, pure and simple. They didn't sign up to be part of a cover-up. They signed up to protect the country. And now they're being asked to do both, simultaneously and silently, which is why they finally said no. The letter, signed by nearly 1,900 officers, isn't just an act of resistance. It's an act of survival. It's a last-ditch attempt to force honesty into a system that's built on misdirection. And the content of that letter? It's damning. They are saying outright, Britain's border is not under control. And the government knows it, not suspects it, not fears it, knows it, and is choosing to keep that fact buried. This goes beyond numbers, beyond overcrowding. This is about a deliberate breach of public trust. Because what happens when the public finds out they've been lied to, not by accident, but by design? That's a fear echoing behind every redacted report and every silence warning, that if the truth ever comes out, it won't just spark outrage. It'll destroy credibility. And once credibility is gone in a security system, everything else collapses. You lose confidence. You lose cooperation. You lose authority. And all that's left is a government scrambling to explain how it let 14,000 migrant crossings happen under its nose, while telling the public it had everything under control. Let's be clear, the officers wanted to fix this quietly. They tried the proper channels. They filed the reports. They raised the concerns. They rang the alarm bells. But when those bells were silenced, when the numbers were cooked and the warnings deleted, that's when they turned to the only thing they had left, each other. This isn't one lone whistleblower. This is an orchestrated mutiny from inside the system. And the silence from the top, it's deafening. Not even a hint of acknowledgement. Just more polished briefings. More carefully worded denials. More pretending everything's under control, while the people on the front lines beg to differ. So where does this go next? That depends. If the government keeps suppressing the truth, this crisis will only metastasize. Officers will continue to leak. Morale will continue to drop. Trust will keep unraveling. And the public? Eventually, they'll realize they've been lied to. Not by omission, but by strategy. And once that happens, the fallout won't just be political. It'll be systemic. Because you can't run a national border system on fiction. Not forever. At some point, the truth breaks through. And when it does, all the redacted memos and soft-spoken press conferences in the world won't be enough to patch it back together. So here's the bottom line. Britain's border force isn't just overwhelmed. It's betrayed by the very government that tasked it with defending the coastline. Officers are exhausted, silenced, and pushed into a role that prioritizes narrative over national security. They've had enough, and now they're warning the rest of us. The truth is being buried. And the cost of that lie is growing by the day. And here's where it starts to unravel faster than anyone at the top expected. Because for every polished government statement insisting things are well within operational parameters, there's an exhausted officer behind the scenes thinking, that's not what I saw today. One of the most damning realities to come out of this internal rebellion is just how coordinated the cover-up has become. This isn't a few mid-level managers trying to save face. It's systemic. It's built into the process. Every level, from shift supervisors to regional heads, has become fluent in the art of massaging the numbers. Officers are saying it straight up. They're being told how to report in a way that doesn't make waves. There are entire phrases they're being coached to avoid. Entire incidents they've been encouraged not to document unless it's absolutely unavoidable. Because once something's on paper, it could be leaked. And if it's leaked, the illusion collapses. So the solution? Don't document the real picture. Don't say that the holding zones are operating well over safe limits. Don't mention that arrival counts are being truncated before they are submitted for review. Don't include the full scope of boat landings when updating the internal dashboard. Just give them the version that keeps things under control. A version that can be defended at the dispatch box in Parliament or thrown into a press release when the tabloids start circling. But you can only stretch a lie so far before it snaps. And right now, it's snapping from the inside out. You know what's wild? The officers aren't just upset about the chaos. They expect chaos. They signed up for a tough job, and they are trained to handle emergencies. But what they didn't sign up for was being used as props in a political performance. They are not border officers anymore. They are being turned into crisis managers for a fictional crisis response. Not solving the problem, hiding it. And while the political machine keeps churning out empty assurances, the people on the front line are done pretending. They are saying, out loud and in writing, this isn't working, and it's not being fixed. The most devastating part? Some of them genuinely believe it's not meant to be fixed. They say decisions are being made not based on operational need, but on political optics. Which surge will make headlines? Which week needs to look calm on paper? Which regions can take the PR hit? It's like playing chess with human exhaustion, and the pieces are burning out. Dover, in particular, has become the symbol of everything wrong with this system. Not because it's the only place struggling, but because it's a place they are trying hardest to disguise. Internally, the data shows the facility stretched well past breaking point. Migrant arrivals surpassing safety thresholds. Detainee areas spilling into overflow. Staff rotations cut short. Break skipped. Morale in tatters. And yet, when the reports go up the ladder, what do they show? Manageable increase. Temporary pressure. Stable processing operations. Those are the actual phrases being used in official reports to describe conditions officers say are bordering on total collapse. Because someone, somewhere, decided that the public can't handle the truth. So instead of solving the problem, they stage manage it. They manipulate the message and pretend the numbers are just noise. They treat national security like a PR campaign. And the result? A workforce that no longer trusts its leaders. A frontline that's bracing for collapse while Westminster flips through talking points. That's what this mutiny letter is really about. It's not just about the border. It's about a culture of denial. A system so allergic to accountability, it would rather gaslight its own security personnel than admit the plan has failed. And once that culture takes root, everything that follows is theater. Every sanitized data set. Every internal memo telling staff to de-escalate language. Every directive to rephrase critical overload into elevated levels. Every one of those is a performance, designed to shield the public from panic, sure, but also to shield the government from consequences. Because let's be honest, if the real numbers hit the headlines, if the true scale of crossings, overcrowding, and data manipulation were laid bare, it wouldn't just be a scandal. It would be a reckoning. People would start asking real questions, like, if 14,000 migrants have already crossed, how many more are expected? If facilities are beyond capacity, why hasn't emergency action been taken? And most of all, why were we told everything was under control when it clearly wasn't? That's why the officers went nuclear. Quietly, yes, but definitively. They are trying to force those questions into the open. Because pretending things are fine hasn't just failed, it's made everything worse. They are dealing with human consequences here. It's not abstract. It's not a debate on paper. It's detainees crammed into rooms not built to hold them. It's security risks ignored because acknowledging them would disrupt the storyline. It's exhausted staff being told to do more with less and smile while they do it. And it's trust completely gone. They don't trust the system to tell the truth. They don't trust senior leadership to protect them. And they definitely don't trust that anyone in power will step in to stop this runaway train before it derails completely. Because that's what's coming. The moment where the facade crumbles and the spin no longer works. Where the public realizes that the story they've been sold, a stable, well-managed border crisis is fiction. And when that day comes, no one will be able to claim they weren't warned. The warning is right here, in the form of a nearly 2,000 signature mutiny. This is a final alarm, the last chance to fix it before the failure becomes impossible to contain. Because the question isn't if the truth will come out, it's when. And when it does, the blame won't fall on the officers who dared to speak. It'll fall on the people who silenced them. So if you're watching this and thinking, this feels bigger than just border crossings, you're right. It's about whether we can believe anything our institutions tell us when the pressure's on, when the crisis isn't convenient, when the truth is ugly, messy, and politically damaging. Right now, that truth is being buried under spreadsheets and sanitized bullet points. But the people on the ground, they are done burying it. They are sounding the alarm, loudly, relentlessly. The only question left is, will anyone listen before it's too late? And here's the part that stings the most. For the officers, for the public, for anyone still holding on to the idea that accountability means something. This wasn't inevitable. The warnings were there. The numbers didn't just spike out of nowhere. The stress fractures in the system didn't appear overnight. They were visible, obvious, and repeatedly flagged by the people paid to see these things coming. And still, nothing. Because every time someone tried to escalate the problem, the answer was the same. Don't cause panic. Don't make it political. Don't rock the boat. Accept the boat's already taking on water. And pretending it's floating just delays the rescue. What these officers are doing now, stepping out of the shadows, signing their names to a quiet rebellion, it's not just whistleblowing. It's an act of resistance in a system that punishes honesty. They are choosing integrity over job security, truth over convenience. And in a political environment that thrives on control, that's dangerous. Because make no mistake, if this leak hadn't come out, the public would still be hearing the same rehearsed lines. We've got it under control. The situation is being monitored. Our border strategy is working. Except it's not. And everyone on the ground knows it. The only people still pretending otherwise are the ones with something to lose when the truth comes out. So now we're at a crossroads. Either this is a moment where someone in power finally steps up and says, enough, we can't spin our way out of this. Or we brace ourselves for the fallout when the next crisis breaks through the wall of silence. Because it will. That's the thing about truth. You can bury it in memos and data manipulation and scripted briefings, but it doesn't stay buried forever. Sooner or later, it surfaces. And when it does, the question won't be, why didn't we know? It'll be, why did we ignore the people who tried to tell us? That's what this video is. A spotlight on the people who tried, who stood inside the storm and said, this isn't working, even when the system told them to shut up and carry on. And if you're here, still watching, then you're one of the few who gets it, who sees through the noise and knows that truth, no matter how inconvenient, is always worth uncovering. So hit that like button, drop your thought in the comments, and subscribe, because we're going to keep pushing, keep exposing, and keep dragging every carefully hidden truth into the open. This isn't just a story about borders. It's about what happens when governments lie and the people they depend on refuse to play along anymore.